Hello everyone, welcome to Kaushal Academy Next Current Affairs classes. This is a new initiative taken by Kaushal Academy Bhatkar for those people who are very serious about competitive exams and people who are finding difficulty in preparing for those exams in this pandemic situation. So let us start, this today's current affairs. But before starting, I would like to request all of you to kindly subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you will get a notification whenever we upload a new video. Thank you. So let us start today's session. So the first question of today is, what do you mean by COVID-19, which is a very popular name in our now in our day-to-day life. We are hearing this word at least for 10 times a day, so in news channels. So what do you mean by COVID-19? Expand COVID-19. Your options are coronavirus immune deficiency 2019, coronavirus disease 2019, coronavirology disease 2019, coronavirus deficiency 2019. So you have 5 seconds to answer. Yes, the time is up. Any guess? The right answer for today's first question is B. That is coronavirus disease 2019. That is called COVID-19. So what is this coronavirus? See, as you all know that coronavirus, it is a large family of viruses which are very known to cause some respiratory infections like MERS and SARS. Okay, so there's Middle East respiratory syndrome and severe acute respiratory syndrome. And SARS was which actually occurred in the year 2002, 2003. At that time, it has affected the whole world, but not as much as like that we are facing like COVID-19. So now this virus, it originates to the this way back to the city called Wuhan, which is in China, where this virus was actually originated, and from that it has spread to all over the world. Almost all the countries in the world are facing this severe disease, and still now the clinical trials and going on to find a vaccine for this disease. So this new virus, whatever that we are discussing, COVID-19, was actually found in the month of December of 2019. So almost we are in the month of May. So it's almost 6 months are over, and still we are finding vaccination, and the whole world is suffering from this disease. And one thing to remember here is all over the world the lockdown is in there, it's been implemented, and everywhere almost all the top economies have been facing this problem, like from US to current to India. Still we are suffering from this disease and don't know when this disease will goes. So that is why we have lockdown, like lockdown 1, 2, 3.0 and 4.0. At present it's happening. So we are looking forward for the vaccine development, but as you know that to develop a vaccine for any kind of viral disease, it takes around 18 months. That means almost 1.5 years. But when it comes to this coronavirus, whole world is working very hard to find the solution, so that even the US president Mr. Donald Trump has said that the vaccine will be available by this year end. So hope this will this will be available by this year end. So that was one first question of today's session. So the next question: who has launched Sahyog app? So what is this Sahyog app? Sahyog app is something it is related to COVID-19. So who has launched Sahyog app? Your options are Survey of India, Ministry of Family Affairs, Home Ministry, Ministry of Telecommunication. And your 5 seconds starts now. Yes, the time is up. So the right answer for this question is Survey of India. Okay, so what is this Sahyog app? Sahyog app was launched by Survey of India. It was launched in the month of April 27th. So there might be confusion among between these two, that is Sahyog app and Arogya Setu app. I'll clear that doubt. So before getting into that one, what is Sahyog? It is a geotagged data collection app where it is very helpful for those people who are traveling or who are in the city, and those who are finding difficulty in finding the hospitals or finding fire stations or finding nearby healthcare centers, all those things. So all these data will be geotagged, and you can easily find the nearest safe places in your locality, and you can shift there, and even you can find the quarantine area where all the quarantine people are living. All those details you can get through this Sahyog app. So now let us discuss what is the difference between Sahyog app and Arogya Setu app. Arogya Setu app is it's an again a tracking application, mobile tracking application developed by NIC, National Informatics Center. So they have developed this app. So one thing you should remember, this one, what you say, the Sahyog app is launched by Survey of India, but this one, Arogya Setu app, was developed by NIC, but it was it was launched by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So this is one difference you should know, because this kind of questions might come in the exams, which is a tricky one. So this Arogya Setu app is again it works on the GPS as well as Bluetooth, so that if you are passing by through any person who is having this COVID-19 coronavirus disease, then you'll get an alert saying that you have passed this person, or you have gone through this locality where it is called as cantonment zone, where people are mostly people are affected by the coronavirus disease. So this is difference between Sahyog app and Arogya Setu app. And one thing, Sahyog app is actually indirectly connected to Arogya Setu app. So there is a issue was raised regarding the privacy, because all these data are being managed, because you are they are collecting your mobile phones, all those details, mobile number details, and even the location and everything. So which is a very sensitive data, and that is why there was an issue related to privacy when it comes to downloading and installing. And one thing you should remember, that recently government has made mandatory to download these app before you travel. So again, it's an government order. So what is Survey of India? I just want to give you a brief about this. Survey of India is a national mapping agency which comes under the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, which was established in the year 1767. The headquarters is in Dehradun, Uttarakhand. So this is an again a related information related to this second question. Next one. Next, FIFA Under 17 Women World Cup will be conducted in which country? Okay, so it's an Under 17 Women's World Cup you are discussing. So which will be happening in which country? Because it was in the recently it was in news. Your options are Japan, India, Saudi Arabia, and Sri Lanka. Fourth option. Your time starts now. Yes, time is up. What is the right answer? It's India. So FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup will be happening in India, and this decision was actually taken by an association or a kind of federation called All India Football Federation. So they have said that India will be the host for FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup, and this World Cup is happening in the month of February in the next year, that is 2021. It was actually planned in 2020 on November 2nd, but because of this coronavirus, it's been postponed to the next year. So this Women's World Cup. So what is FIFA Women's World Cup? Whatever that we have discussed is FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup. but there is a FIFA Women's World Cup, like how we have Men's World Cup. So FIFA Women's World Cup, it takes actually, it takes place every 4 years since 1991, and 6 countries have so far hosted this World Cup. US and China have hosted twice, whereas France, Germany, and Canada and Sweden have hosted for once. So again, a very important information. And what is All India Football Federation? All India Football Federation is a governing body of related to football, which takes place which actually governs different a kind of sports competition, or competitions like Indian Super League, I League, and Super Cup. So this is this All India Football Federation hosts both men as well as women football football competitions. So this was third question. So now next move to the fourth question, that is, what is e-Vidya? Again, it was current news. What do you mean by e-Vidya? Your options are: it relates to scholarship for children, it relates to digital education, it relates to empowerment of women, it relates to women employment. So your time starts now. Yes, time is up. The correct answer for this, what is e-Vidya, is it is relates to digital education. See, after this lockdown, our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, has announced so many packages to the country, to the people of India, and in that recently he has announced a big amount of around 20 lakh crores to the citizens for their livelihood, as well as to keep their life as easy as possible. For that purpose, he has announced a 20 lakh crore package, which is been named as third largest relief package introduced by any country. Again, it was around 10% of our GDP, that is 2 trillion. So that was the amount he was announced in his recent speech. Means he has announced, and our finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman has actually she has actually called for around 4 days of continuous meeting, and in that she has actually given a brief about all these bifurcation of this 20 lakh crores. In that 20 lakh crores, one of the importance was given to the education sector. So under this education sector, e-Vidya was one of the concept. So what is this PM e-Vidya? It's a program of multi-mode access. Remember this, it's a multi-mode access to digital as well as online education, announced by our finance minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman. So this approach was actually backed by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, so what is Atmanirbhar Bharat? That means being like what you say is self-centered, at the same time being able to do whatever is possible from within domestic, instead of depending on the other countries or going out. Let us produce here, let us learn within here, let us develop technology, let us develop goods and services within India, so that all of us can become more stronger within ourselves. That is what Atmanirbhar Bharat is all about. So in this speech, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given more importance towards towards all the sector, especially to the education sector. In that he has announced, he has given more importance towards some of the points. First one, Diksha, which is an e-content and QR coded textbooks, for all grades, that will be published in the coming days, so that you can scan the code and you can get the books. So you don't need a physical book there. You can download the book like how you have Amazon Kindle kind of thing. So everything is available digitally. So this comes under One Nation, One Digital Platform. The second one is one dedicated TV channel per class from 1st to 12th standard. We have already know that we already know that there are around 3 channels who are actively working on the, they are already published. They are telecasting the classes for those students. With this, they are adding few more, so that every class will have one channel, dedicated channel. All those chapters will be dealt in those channels. So it comes under one class, one channel. Next one is extensive use of community radio and podcast, so that all the information will be telecasted or broadcasted here. First, one thing you should know, because in India, we have covered almost all the cities as well as the rural area, but there are some few areas which are actually they're not getting electricity, or there is no connection of this the TV channels and all. So that is why, for to help them, radio, dedicated radio channels will also be come into picture. Next one is special e-content for specially abled students. So those who are those who are specially abled people, those who can't hear, those who can't see, for them there will be a e-content will be given to them. So it's again a new good initiative. Next one is top 100 university will be permitted to automatically start online courses by this 30th May. So again, which is a new initiative. So all these things are mainly concentrating on e-Vidya, that is e-learning. That's it. So that is why we can see n number of online courses are coming. Many universities are offering online courses, like we have Coursera or Upgrad or Udemy, where they are coming up with new digital classes. All these things are a new initiative taken by the government of India. Next question: which bank has provided $1 billion of loan to India for social protection? Read the question. Which bank has provided $1 billion of loan to India for social protection? Options are World Bank, AIDB, that is Asian Infrastructure Development Bank, NDB, that is New Development Bank, and BRICS Bank. Your time starts now. Yes, your time is up. The right answer for is 8, that is World Bank. So World Bank has announced a kind of protection, social protection, a kind of money was given, fund was given to almost all the countries, where India got around $1 billion US dollar amount towards social protection, which is very important. Remember this, it was for social protection, so which is actually should be used by government of India towards people who are actually facing severe problems because of this COVID-19. So this fund was actually will be released in 2 phases. It is 750 million US dollar before the end of this June, and second allocation will be in next June. So these 2 phases will be implemented through this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, which is very very dedicated only towards the very poorest of the poor people. And objective of this program is to tackle the problems faced by migrants and urban poor. That is what the main objective of this allocation. So actually you should know that this is not an kind of relief fund or something, charity fund. No, it is a loan. Remember this, it's a loan where government of India should repay it. And what is the maturity? It is 18 years. And after this 18 years, government of India should start repaying this loan, and the grace period can be around 5 years. We can actually get 5 more years as a grace period. So this is a kind of loan given by World Bank. So what is World Bank? So World Bank is which is a international bank which gives loans or grants, loans and grants. Remember this, loans and grants. So whatever we got is a loan, so which is loan for capital projects for a long-term purpose, and it comprises of 2 institutions, that is IBRD and IDA. So this headquarter is in Washington DC, and it was established in the year July 1990, 1944, almost 75 years of establishment. So very important question in terms of current affairs. Question. Next, what do you mean by the term endemic? Again, this term was very popular in recent days. What do you mean by term endemic? A disease which affects the whole world, a disease which affects certain area, a disease where its presence in the population is constant, a disease which will end the world. So think your timing. Okay, sorry, your timing is already done. I'm only telling you the answer. The answer is C. A disease where its presence in the population is constant. So you might get confused. Well, there are three words. I'll tell you: pandemic, endemic, epidemic. These three words, don't get confused. What is epidemic? Epidemic is something which is a kind of disease which will affect not only one country, few more countries. If it is affecting few more countries, then it's called epidemic, a disease. If the epidemic becomes more and more larger, and if it is affecting all over the world, all the nations, then it is called pandemic. So epidemic becomes pandemic. Pan, it means all over the world. Then the word comes is endemic. What is endemic? Endemic is something, a disease which will be in the world, which you cannot eliminate till you find a vaccination. Till that, it is something you cannot find a solution for this. So that means you have to live with this disease. You cannot escape. You cannot be isolated. Simply you cannot sit in your home and you can do the things. No, you have to learn how to live with this disease. So that is why it's called endemic. And the World Health Organization has said that, like HIV, the novel coronavirus will become endemic and it may never go away. That means it will be in the world. You cannot completely throw away this disease. So that is why like how malaria and chickenpox we have, this will also be one of the disease which will be with us. We have to learn how to live with this disease. So when epidemic becomes endemic, they become increasingly tolerated, and the responsibility of protecting against this is shifts from government to individual. So now whatever the government is doing, it is from an administrative purpose. They are keeping the people isolated, or they are announcing lockdown, they are announcing relief package, all those things. But again, till what time they can do it? No, because people has to work, demand has to be created, at the same time goods has to be produced, so that the demand will be satisfied. So supply thing should come there. So everything to run this economy, to make this economy again whatever it was there in the previous days, you have to work. The whole India, that means all the people should come into the work, and they have to do the create the economic activity. So that is why this responsibility now shifts from government to the citizens. So they should know the self-isolation, they should know the self-distancing, social distancing, and through that they can actually cure this disease. So what is WHO? WHO is an agency of the United Nations responsible for international public health. The headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland. The formation took place in the year 1948. At present, it has around 194 member countries. So this is the sixth question. Which state becomes the first to regulate the cultivation of crop in India? Which is very important. Which is normally this kind of regulation you can see in some other countries, like communist countries, where they actually regulate what things to be done by the people. But first time in India a state has done this. Which is a state? Your options are Karnataka, Punjab, West Bengal, Telangana. And your time starts now. Yes, the time is up. The correct answer for this is Telangana. Telangana is has become the first state in India to regulate what crops to be cultivated in which area within the state. So the Telangana Chief Minister K.C. Rao has said that on May 12th he has done an announcement saying that government from now onwards, government will decide which crop should be produced in which in which area, and all those guidelines will be given, and everything will be regulated by the government officials. So it is a kind of a regulation. So state will limit growing paddy up to 50 lakh per 50 lakh acres, and red gram again it's a kind of crop with to 10 lakh acres. It's again a regulation introduced by Telangana government. And why this regulation was introduced, the reason is the government has came to know that from around past 20 years they have done a kind of demand and supply analysis, and they came to know that there are many crops which were growing which was grown by the people in a huge manner. So that is why the demand for those products will come down. At the same time, because of that demand will come down, and because of the supply will be heavy, so that people will ask for a very less price, so that farmer will indirectly get a less income. So that is why, to stop this problem, government has introduced this kind of regulation where it says, okay, if you are having a kind of land, you grow this much of kind of crops, that's it. You should not grow another crop. And it's like locality based cultivation. And the state will not extend any benefit under minimum support scheme as well as Raitu Bandhu scheme those farmers who are violating these directives. If you are growing more crops, if you are growing some other crops which is not directed by the government, then you will not get all these benefits. So very important thing. So what is this Raitu Bandhu scheme then? Raitu Bandhu scheme is a welfare program announced by the Chief Minister, Telangana Chief Minister K.C. Rao, and it is a kind of welfare program to support farmers investment for 2 crops a year by the government of Telangana. Kind of say example, what is simply this? It is giving around 5,000 per acre per season to support the farmers investment twice a year. That means every year farmer is getting 10,000 for two seasons, for 10,000 per acre is getting. And this is a very important scheme. See, if you go back to the our Prime Minister announcement, same way here. So whatever the Prime Minister announcement regarding Pradhan Mantri Krishi Vikas Yojana, same way Krishi Vikas Yojana, same way it is a kind of monetary support given by the government towards the protection or welfare of the farmers. The next question, according to new guidelines, MSME definition includes what? So there was a new announcement done by our Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman. She said about new guidelines, a new definition for MSMEs. What is that definition? A firm up to investment of rupees 25 lakh is to be called micro unit. A firm with turnover of rupees 5 crore is to be called a micro unit. The difference between manufacturing and service based MSMEs are maintained, all of them. Your time starts now. Yes, the time is up. The right answer is B. A firm with turnover of rupees 5 crore is to be called a micro unit. Okay, so what is MSME? Micro, small and medium scale enterprises. So there is a new definition was given by the Finance Minister. What is that? So in the recent speech, she said that the MSMEs will be defined in 2 ways. That is, one is investment, another one is turnover. Before that, means before this guideline, before this new definition, there was no such kind of merging of investment and turnover. So, but new definition will include both investment and turnover. What is that? Up to 1 crore, if you are having investment, then you will come under micro unit. From 1 to 20 crore, it is small unit. From about 20 crore, you call it as medium units. Then turnover up to 5 crore, it is micro unit. 5 to 100 crores, it is small unit, and above 100 crore, it is called as medium units. So Before announcement, it was like I mentioned, A, that is up to 25 lakh investment, it was called micro unit. Now from investment, it is from 25 lakh, it has increased to 1 crore. So that is a huge jump there related to investment. Okay, and for an enterprise to come under this category of MSME, it has to fulfill both investment and turnover. That means if you are having an unit which is having only 25 lakh of investment, but if your turnover is 5 crore, then you will not come under this new definition. So to recognize under this, you should have at least 1 crore or up to 1 crore of investment, plus your turnover should be 5 crore. So, and if your investment is 1 to 20 crores, if you are having investment of 10 crore, and if your turnover is below 5 crore, then you will not come under this small scale, small unit. You should have a turnover of 5 to 10 crores, then only this new definition is applicable to you. And the differentiation between manufacturing and service, very important, has been eliminated here. Before, what they had is, for service sector these many guidelines, these many investment things, for manufacturing these many investment guidelines, but now both. So it's a merge. So whatever the industry you belong, you might be related to manufacturing or service, for you this new definition is applicable. So this was 8 question. The 9th question, we are moving to the 9th question. What is that? What is India's rank in Global Energy Transition Index, which is a new, it is a index, a kind of ranking announced recently. So what is India's position globally? 71, 82, 84, 74. And your time starts now. Yes, time is up. The right answer is B, that is 74. So what is this? World Economic Forum, WEF, has released this Global Energy Transition Index, where India has actually moved up to 2 places to rank 74th. Okay, and this which shows that India has actually improved very well in the renewable energy ranking. So the government of India, as you know, that has actually is working very hard towards renewable energy like solar, wind energy, and that is why India has actually increased its target to 2075 gigawatts by 2027. So India wants to produce this much of energy by 2027, which is a very big, if the government achieves that, it would be a very big achievement, because we will be moving ahead when it comes to renewable energy. So this Global Energy Transition Index was, it's a ranking intended to enable the policy makers as well as the business to plot the course for a successful energy transition. That means energy transition towards the renewable energy, from non-renewable to renewable energy. The first rank was taken by Sweden. So this was about this. And what is World Economic Forum? World Economic Forum is an NGO. Remember this. It will not. It is not an United Nations organization, or it is not. It will not come under UN. It's an NGO founded in 1971. The headquarters is in Switzerland. So World Economic Forum hosts an annual meeting at the end of January in Davos, where all the officials, all the top officials like Prime Minister, presidents will visit there. Recently, our Prime Minister was also part of this meeting. Our last question for today's is, who launched Tour of Duty scheme? Your options are Indian Navy, Indian Army, Indian Coast Guard, Indian Air Force. Your time starts now. Yes, the time is up. The correct answer is B, that is Indian Army. See, recently Indian Army has announced a new set of scheme called Tour of Duty, which allows the citizens to join the Indian Army for a 3-year tenure service, which is called as 3 years short service scheme. So this scheme allows people to join the Indian Army it will act as an internship or a temporary service. So after 3 years, you will be retired from the service, and after that you will get an opportunity to be, to join any public sector undertakings. You will get an first preference at the same time in the private sector as well. So regarding this, recently Mahindra and Mahindra chairman, that is Anand Mahindra, has announced that they will select, or they will prefer those people who will complete this 3-year service. They'll get a first preference in their company if they complete this 3-year service in the coming days. So that is one of the kind of boost for the citizens to join the Indian Army. At the same time, it will also build a kind of patriotism in the citizens' mind. So this new scheme was announced with one thing, to develop the to increase the patriotism. At the same time, it is also keeping in mind the view of the cost, because one of the calculations done by the army people, they say that to the cost incurred for the permanent employees or permanent soldiers or officers is around 5 to 6 crores they have to pay them in terms of pension or in terms of other facilities. But for this short term service, they require only around 80 to 90 lakhs. That's it. So such a huge gap in the money paid. At the same time, it will save the money for the exchequer, that is government, plus the people who are very eager to join the army, they'll get an opportunity. So it is a win-win situation for both government as well as for the citizens. So that is why this scheme was introduced by Indian Army. And when we say Indian Army is the second largest military force in the world, and as you all know that we celebrate Army Day in the in the month of Jan, on 15th January. Why? Because in this day our General Cariappa has taken over as the head of the Indian Army in the year 1949. So this was all about for today's class. Thank you for listening. I request you to kindly like this video, and please put your views in the comment box, as well as share this video. Request you to kindly subscribe and press a bell icon so that you will get a new any new notification whenever we upload a new videos. Thank you.